Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. This is our privacy, security, AI, business, and SillyVille news editions. These are recorded live Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to catch the show live, see all the in-betweens, to contribute to the chat, all that fun, jazzy stuff, you can go ahead and catch it there. Of course, if you don't like any of that kind of stuff, you just want the short, clear cut, let me see the news, that's why we do these ones here. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. The first up is Clearview AI. Of course, you love that Clearview AI. We're probably all caught up in that nonsense at this point in time, unless you go into public with a paper bag. And this is the clearest example of why we need to institute massive global privacy laws and say, look, you're not allowed to have any information on anybody unless they explicitly consent you to having it. So Clearview AI just goes around the entirety of the internet, social media, YouTube, everywhere where you can see pictures of people and you can figure out who they are. Clearview AI has scraped you into their database, and they use it pretty much exclusively to give facial recognition services to law enforcement and other things like this. So they've actually been hit several times with fines in EU for GDPR violations, but they're just like, can't get us. And so ultimately, the Dutch regulators just hit them with the largest GDPR fine yet, and is actually considering holding the executives personally liable. Now, what's that's going to mean for them? Well, ultimately, if the execs become personally liable and they're not paying or responding or working with the regulators, they're basically going to pull a France and issue arrest warrants. And if those guys land anywhere in an extradition country in the EU, they're simply going to be arrested and sent over and locked in jail until somebody pays millions of dollars in fines. And so with them getting as bold as to come out and say, look, we're considering holding you personally liable because your company is not responding. And Clearview AI is saying, well, we don't have an office there and we don't have an agent there, so you can't do anything. The problem is that in EU, a GDPR violation is not, it doesn't work like sales tax in the United States. You don't have to have an office. You just have to impact somebody's data privacy who lives within the jurisdiction of whoever runs GDPR compliant laws. And that is, in this case, is the Dutch. And so the Dutch have said that several people are caught up in this. So Netherlands Data Protection Authority, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that. AP said on Tuesday that it imposed a penalty of $30.5 million, around $33.7 million at the current exchange rates, on Clearview AI for a raft of breaches the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, after confirming the database contains images of Dutch citizens. The fine is larger than separate GDPR sanctions imposed on data authorities in France, Italy, Greece, and the UK back in 2022. In a press release, he warned that it has ordered an additional penalty of $5.1 million that will be levied for continued non-compliance, saying Clearview failed to stop the GDPR violations after the investigation concluded, which is why it has made an additional order. Total fine could be 35.6 million euros if Clearview AI keeps ignoring the regulator. So they began investigating it after receiving complaints from 3 individuals relating to the company's failure to comply with data access requests, because Clearview AI is like, I don't care. We're funded by Peter Thiel, and we give data to global law enforcement about who everybody is. No, we're not stopping. But this is why they need stopped. They need stopped. If more people were made aware of who Clearview AI is and what it actually does, maybe we can get like a global riot against them or something. I don't know. Protest might be the better word. Clearview should never have built the database with photos, the unique biometric codes, and other information linked to them. This especially applies for face-derived unique biometric codes like fingerprints. These are biometric data. Collecting and using them is prohibited. There are statutory exceptions to the prohibition, but Clearview cannot rely on them. So reach for a comment. Clearview representative of Washington, D.C. said, neener, can't get us. But the chief legal officer says Clearview AI does not have a place of business in the Netherlands or the EU. It does not have any customers in Netherlands or the EU and does not undertake any activities that would otherwise mean it's subjected to GDPR. McLaren writing, the decision is unlawful, devoid of due process, and is unenforceable. Okay, fine. Show up in the country and defend it. All right. According to the Dutch regulator, the company cannot appeal the penalty as it has failed to object to the decision. And it's also worth noting that it is extraterritorial, meaning it applies to the processing of personal data of EU, wherever that processing of data takes place. So, of course, that's kind of what's going on. Ultimately, the Dutch said that if Clearview breaks the law, makes use of services of Clearview illegal, Dutch organizations that use Clearview therefore expect hefty fines from Dutch. So anybody now trying to use Clearview in Netherlands is going to find themselves in an issue. Now, since they are completely taunting everybody, they're basically going to say, yeah, we're going to hold them personally liable, which could mean sanctions if the people ever step foot into Netherlands or any other country that would be on Netherlands' side, which at this point in time is probably the entirety of the EU, because the EU is kind of getting sick of Clearview AI. So I don't know, government officials, maybe it's time to close down Clearview AI, force it to burn its databases. I mean, that's it. Now, if you thought that that was exciting, it's apparently the rumors are true. Rumors are true. The rumors are true. The rumors are true. No, aliens aren't condescending and attacking Earth. No, your phone's microphone might be listening to serve you ads for Facebook, Google, and more. Of course, this is the old conspiracy theory out there. Oh, of course, your phone's gonna listen to you, and you're not. Now, I have this to say. I wanted to test this at one point in time, and having a background in the sciences, I devised a fun little experiment. I went down to a Wally World, and I picked up just a $30 Android phone and a SIM card, and I activated the phone, and I created a Facebook account, installed Facebook on it, and I kept the phone out of earshot of pretty much everything, but then I would bring it into range and have weird conversations around it. And the idea was to see if I would see any advertisements that were related to anything that we had talked about. So I logged the times we talked about things, what we talked about. I didn't see anything like it showing up. Now, this is going back like 5 years now on the ad front. But on the Facebook front itself, my protocol involved going onto it 3 times a day for like half hour or something. And I would scroll through. I would stop at random intervals as determined by the roll of dice, and I would use the roll of the dice to determine if I would accept a friend request or like something or not. So everything I did was random at the roll of dice. At the end of the month, I did not see any advertisements related to the weird things we talked about, but the entire account became completely nothing more than adult content. And so for that basis alone, I would keep Facebook as far away from your life as conceivably possible. So did not confirm listening based on ads, but did confirm it will push you down a cesspool of nonsense. But in this case, this is actually Cox Media Group. So someone's getting screwed here. Cox Media Group has been discovered to have been issuing a pitch deck to try and get other customers based on the fact it uses AI to collect and analyze voice data from users through more than 470 sources. Now, how does this work? This works not by your phone just sitting here unless Google has code in the phone that do that. Mostly this is apps. Okay, this is like anytime you see somebody's like, I can remember off the top of my head, I can remember a Matt Walsh pushing the free gas app. Remember that one? I forget the exact name of it. It might have been called the free gas app, but you'd download and install this app, and it's completely free, guys. And it would just tell you the lowest prices on gas stations nearby to you. It's like, wow, this is a neat little utility. And so all sorts of people are sitting there like, oh, this is cool. It's completely free. So it's completely free, but you're paying a massive content creator like Matt Walsh, who knows how many thousands of dollars to promote this on an ad spot on his show. Well, some data is getting in here. Now, this is one of the apps that was actually being used to collect geo and gyroscopic data from your phone, selling it to LexisNexis, which was turning around and selling it to your insurance company. So you might have said your insurance company's like, hey, if you install this little black box in your car that has a GPS, you might save money on up to 10% off of your insurance. Now, of course, the way those boxes work, if you install that thing and you're one of their worst statistical average drivers, they actually increase your bill by 10%. That's in the fine print, but they just don't tell you that in the marketing. If you're in the 80% bell curve, it doesn't change your rates at all. If you're in the upper 10%, you will get a 10% discount on your rates. It is not worth it. You have a very small chance of getting a discount on your rates. The average person doesn't have any change, but another 10% gets increased rates because of it. But of course, this is kind of creepy, and a lot of people weren't doing these, and haven't heard a lot about it in a while because they're kind of But we just get people to install the free phone app on your phone instead, and then you can then click on this button and we get all of the data anyway. Well, that app is probably also listening to your microphone, as are a variety of other places. These are those embedded marketing trackers embedded inside of apps. This is why I don't use any form of proprietary apps. Now, this is not just phones, however. This is phones. This is also computers. A proprietary app on your computer might do the same thing if you have a microphone perpetually plugged in. So that is what they were doing. They also had an ability that you could target a 10-mile geolocation radius or a 20-mile geolocation radius. They did say they partnered with Google, Amazon, and Facebook. The only one that is actually confirmed working with them at all has been Facebook. Actually, I think Google did as well. I think it was, okay, I should remember this one off the top. One of these companies said, we have never used them. One of these companies said, we have pulled them a while ago. And one of these companies said, we're going to look into them. I know Facebook was going to look into them. They are not listed as a marketing partner right now at the time of this article written. I think it was Amazon has said they have never used them, and Google said that they have dropped them at some point in time. So, of course, this is deeply creepy. If that wasn't deeply creepy enough, the CEO actually wrote a blog post. They have since taken it down because, creepy. So this is actually their blog post, and somebody thought this was a great idea. So active listening, an overview by Justin Winokur. Imagine a world where you can read minds, one where you know the second someone in your area is concerned about the mold in their closet, where you have access to a list of leads who are unhappy with their current contractor or know who is struggling to pick the perfect fine dining restaurant to propose to their discerning future fiancé. This is a world where no pre-purchase murmurs go unanalyzed, and whispers of consumers have become a tool for you to target, retarget, and conquer your local marketing. It's not a far-off fantasy, it's active listening technology, and it enables you to unlock unmatched advertising efficiency today so you can boost a bigger bottom line tomorrow. Yeah. And then, of course, you can read all this. Of course, I have this linked in my notes. So they thought that was a great thing to post on their company site. Here's actually their pitch deck that they released. So that's the power of the voice on our devices. The smart devices capture real-time intent data by listening to our conversations. Advertisers compare this voice data with behavioral data to target in-market consumers. We use AI to collect this data from 470 plus sources to improve campaign deployment, targeting, and performance. You reach your potential customers before your competitors. Guys, use ad blockers and use free and open source software, and do not let any of this type of nonsense onto any device that you control. And I don't know, maybe petition your government to have these people thrown in the slammer for a while. For what? Just being creepy. Just being creepy. Okay. So here's their predictive audience. Consumers leave a data trail based on their conversations and online behavior. AI collects and analyzes the behavioral and voice data. Processing of voice data with behavioral data identifies an audience who is ready to buy. We take the data, align it with your products and services, build an audience list that's defined in a 10-mile radius. Audience list is uploaded into our ad platform to target your digital advertising. Once launched, the technology automatically analyzes your site traffic and customers to fuel audience targeting on an ongoing basis. And then here's a little bit about where we can target. We target your audience through streaming, TV and audio, display and pre-roll, paid social, Google and Bing, and mobile. So here's all this. And then here's your little steps. Your plan and agreement execution is due by initial kickoff, client kickoff, campaign launch. I'd like to see jail time for psycho creepies. Thank you, creepy psychopath. And then here's some how it works type stuff. Analyzes 1.9 trillion behaviors daily, collects opt-in customer behavior from hundreds of popular websites that offer top display video platforms, social applications, mobile marketplaces that allow laser-focused buying. Sources include Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, Amazon, and many more. So this is so absolutely terrifying. Yes, your phone has been listening to you the whole time. Let that fun stuff sink in. And with that, we're going to jump on over to our security news next. And first up, 3 men plead guilty to running an MFA bypass service on OTP Agency. Well, guys, I thought that two-factor authentication and multi-factor authentication was going to fix all of our problems. Come on. This is the secure stuff. Remember they were telling us that like 2 years ago? This stuff is so secure, it'll never be breached. Yep. So these guys, 3 guys ran a whole scheme. You could purchase a software like a malware as a service type thing where it provided you social engineering breaches where if you wanted to get into somebody's stuff, you know some of the basic information, then it has all of the information based on all these people, based on hacked materials. So you buy the package and then what you do then is you trigger them to cause them to try and log in or get a login prompt. And then as they go through and they respond to that response, it's going back to the OTP agency company, passing the session token, and then they're taking the session token and forwarding it over to you, allowing you to get in and to breach the account. And so these guys, fortunately, were arrested and thrown in the slammer to running the bypass agency. So, yes, indeed, these things are not the golden, mystical, magical bullet. Multi-factor authentication is very possible to still get through. This is why we need to minimize accounts and things like that. And sadly, there is a Yubikey flaw that Yubikey has said this is a permanent flaw. There is no way to patch this. This has to do with the SLE78 microcontroller. And this affects Yubikey 5, which is a very widely used key. And it deals with a specific version. Was it 5.7? 5.7. They are permanently vulnerable. Basically, somebody can clone the key and use it to get into all of the accounts stored on your key. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is your chance of this happening is slim to none. Effectively, this is extraordinarily difficult, extraordinarily technical, and is extraordinarily expensive and requires physical access to your key, obviously. This, though, is why I use these keys. Of course, I've used YubiKeys. There are alternatives on the market now, and I would like to research some of those alternatives. I know some people have said, why are you promoting Yubikey when there's other ones out there? I guess there are some that are more open source, I guess. I have not looked into them all, and I want to. I will add that to my list of things to research down the road. But the problem here is that there's something wrong with this particular microcontroller that is vulnerable to a copying attack based upon looking at the signals. Now, the good news is this is likely you're going to be selectively targeted by a state actor. So it takes $11,000 worth of equipment. It requires them to get your key, to open your key up, and then clone it. And then, of course, for them to do it without you knowing, they would have to restore your key back to you. So they have to not only open it up, but glue your key back together and make it still look perfect. So there are, this is not like the end of the world, but if you're thinking about a Yubikey 5, you might want to think and look another place. Specifically look for this LEL, excuse me. Let me get this right. Look specifically for the SLE78 and the version 5.7. Those two things are the marker that your key is permanently vulnerable. There is not a way to patch these keys, at least at this time. So just be aware of that if you're using Yubikeys, although, again, the risk of this actually happening is slim to none, based on the fact that it does require extremely expensive tools, and it requires them to have physical access, and they also have to know your first username and password, which honestly in these days probably may not be a difficult thing with, all of the OTP agencies running around. Well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have affiliates. Today we are highlighting DigitalOcean. I use this for running Nextcloud servers, hosting servers, all sorts of fun stuff is all done over here on DigitalOcean. You can get cloud servers for all sorts of fun things, whether it's for gaming, backup, storage, websites, anything else you need. If this is an interest to you, tlm.li/DOH. You'll get $200 credit, good for 60 days to spin things up. And then we will get a $25 credit towards our rather substantial monthly bill for running all of our infrastructure around here. So that's DigitalOcean, tlm.li/DOH. And with that, let's move on over to our AI news next, because the AI overlords are coming to get us. Well, first, the AI overlords would like to buy us a new house. So Zillow's AI wants to help you find the dream home that you didn't even know you wanted. You effectively pick a spot where you want to live near, and the AI will handle the rest. So I have questions about this, because it does say in the article they're boasting a tool that allows you, instead of filtering through tedious filtering of locations. I think that's the fun part, personally. But anyway, it's going to filter through. You just ask it for a place within a travel distance of a location. It will handle the rest for you. The upgraded tools now rely on casual language rather than drop down and other menus. The idea is you won't have to specifically specify affordability, proximity to schools, commute time, and related matters. You can just explain what you want as if you're talking to a human. You know what? I don't talk to the things on the phone that want me to talk to them. I spam the 0 button until the computer gives up and gives me a human being. Okay, I am not talking to this. What am I going to do? Sit there and talk to my Zillow phone? Excuse me, Zillow, would you find me a house within 2.5 miles of the prison, because I've lost my mind and I might go there soon? No, make that the mental institution instead. I mean, holy crap, this is nonsense. For instance, Zillow described you could ask for homes 30 minutes from Millennium Park, 3-bedroom houses near Roosevelt High School, or apartments near Denver Union Station. Just don't ask for apartments and call it Aurora. For properties of a certain distance, a good school, or a park you like. The point is to make intuitive to find your ideal home. It's a linguistic upgrade to Zillow's current AI features, which currently performs tasks such as estimating a home's value and sharing AI-powered showcase listings that tour within a house. I'm sorry, Zillow, if you're listening, Zillow, if there's not an option to turn this nonsense off and go back to your drop-down menus, I will never visit your website again. You can piss off with your AI. I'm sorry, I do not want an AI bot on the stupid phone. Not a chance. So, anyway, the Zillow would like you to cram AI down your throat now. But I'm not sure what's worse, that or this. ChatGPT gives Volkswagen cars the smarts to talk to you all day long. So Volkswagen is now from fully embedding ChatGPT into the system. Don't worry, it's completely secure. They allege that no data is transmitted anywhere. Its stuff is deleted immediately. I have a sneaky suspicion that's probably not true from a car that probably sends every form of data back to the manufacturer. I have a sneaky suspicion we're going to find out that all of those voice samples are probably going to be sent back too. They're just claiming right now they're not. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. We need to get some security researchers in there to see exactly what's going on. But this is it activated by phrases such as "Hello IDA" or "Hello Volkswagen." Great. Hey Kit, get me out of this situation. We are moving towards a reality where they want to give everybody the Knight Rider. You're going to talk to your car. It's going to self-drive, have full AI technologies. I don't know. Maybe I need to go back and watch the old 80s Knight Rider shows again, right? I used to watch those when I was a wee little tyke, so it might be worth going back and watching them again. Chatbot relies on the longtime voice AI partner, is it Cerence? And the Cerence Chat Pro platform. The good news about this is that, or bad news, I don't know, it's a subscription service. You got to pay for this crap. But hey, now you get constant ads to pay for the crap that you don't really want as you're driving down the road. It's like, I'm driving, stop distracting me with advertisements. Okay, can we at least, if we're not going to ban ads everywhere, can we at least ban all forms of advertisements related to cars? We don't need to be distracted by ads while we're driving down the road. What caused the crash? A giant advertisement showed up on my infotainment screen, and I had to watch a 30-second video before it'd get me my map. What the hell? But the results go well beyond the usual navigation and climate controls. Leveraging OpenAI's creation, a driver can get everything from local entertainment suggestions to a spontaneous trivia quiz. Great. I'm driving down the road through a giant city, and now I want to play Trivial Pursuit with my car. The hell timeline are we living in? All right, Volkswagen upgraded voice assistant offers more intuitive user experience activated by such phrases. Depending on the vehicle, drivers and the passengers can now interact with their cars in a more casual way. If IDA can't help you, it connects to the cloud, where the Conference Chat Pro processes the query. The cloud-based system taps into multiple databases and sources, including ChatGPT, to answer your questions. Oh, joy. Oh, joy. Like I said, the good news is I believe that's a subscription service. I thought I read that. Maybe I read that in another article. I always read a few articles related to most of these. And on to our last article here. Well, guys, I think we have a candidate for the Mark of the Beast in this one. I'm reading this going, this is the Mark of the Beast. Brought on by the AI Overlords. What do you know? Now they want to push personhood credentials to prove you're a human online. So as AI models become better at mimicking human behaviors, it becomes increasingly difficult to distinguish between real human internet users and sophisticated systems imitating them. That's a real problem when those systems are deployed for nefarious ends like spreading misinformation or conducting fraud, and it makes it a lot harder to trust what you encounter online. So now a group of 32 researchers from the most evil groups I've ever heard of, including OpenAI, Microsoft, MIT, and Harvard, have developed a potential solution, a verification concept called personhood credentials. These credentials prove that a holder is a real person without revealing any further information about the person's identity. The team explored the idea in a non-peer-reviewed paper posted on Arivix, which I downloaded a copy of that, and I'll read this nonsense soon. The personhood credentials rely on the fact that AI systems still cannot bypass state-of-the-art cryptographic systems or pass as people in the offline real world. Yeah, they're working on that, trust me. To request such credentials, a person would have to physically go to a number of issues like a government or some other kind of trusted organization. They'd then be asked to provide evidence of being a real human being, such as a passport or biometric data. Okay, I was thinking suspicion. If I walked into the office, I'm probably a real human being. Now, the identity of me as a real human being may be in question, but if I have walked into the office, unless we have completely like, unless T-1000 is walking among us, if I have walked into a government office, I am likely a real human being. Again, proving I am the human being I say I am might be a different case. Oh dear. Oh dear. They'd be asked to provide evidence of being a real human, such as a passport or biometric data. So now we got to give up some biometric data. Once approved, they receive a single credential to store on their devices in a way that's currently possible to store credit and debit cards in smartphone wallets. So now we have to have a device where we have to have this thing stored. And now we'll have to have a reader for this thing. And we can't do anything online without it. Now, this is where it gets a little murky. They're kind of saying we want to encourage people to use this. We want to encourage businesses to adopt the standard, but we don't want to force it on anybody yet. Now, here's the biggest problem, of course, is that if I have to go to an organization or a government to get a certain credential, which is effectively a RFID tag, that's what they're describing. If I have to go to a government or an agency, then you know what? Somebody's able to generate these things, whether they're doing it based on fraudulent data, like I go in with a really good fake ID, or I go in with fake fingerprints or something like that. I mean, there's that. But there's also the fraudulent thing. Some guy comes into some low underpaid government employee or underpaid service employee of this company and like, hey, I'll give you $50,000 if you can give me 3 of those. Sure, why not? Click, 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 here you go. And now they have a device that they can basically use online, even though they're not who they say they are, but they have now obtained somehow a personhood credential. So this doesn't solve any problems. But where it gets down to is that to use these credentials online, users would present them to a third-party digital service provider, which could then verify them using a cryptographic protocol called a zero-knowledge proof that would confirm the holder was in possession of a personhood credential without disclosing any unnecessary information. The ability to filter out anyone other than verified humans on a platform could be useful in many ways. People could reject Tinder matches that don't come with personhood credentials, for example, or choose not to see anything on social media that was not definitely posted by a person. Or the guy who paid the service agency $50,000 for a personhood credential. The authors want to encourage governments, companies, and standard bodies to consider adopting such system for the future to prevent AI deception from ballooning out of control. AI's everywhere. There will be many issues, many problems, and many solutions, said this PhD guy who apparently is in line with the Antichrist. Our goal is not to prescribe to this world, but to open the conversation about why. Well, I thought up here it said the authors want to encourage governments and companies and standards to consider adopting such a system, but our goal is not to prescribe this to the world, but to open a conversation. Well, that sounds like a forked tongue of a serpent. Interesting. Possible technical ideas exist. There's a number of other things out there. We have the WorldCoin project is trying to do something similar. But of course, there's some criticism in that. So yeah, effectively, these guys would like to create personhood credentials that are somehow tied in to prove that you're a real human being. And probably you might eventually have to have this to do anything related to society. So I don't know, guys. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But with that, let's move on over to business news next. First up in business news, well, this is obviously going to happen. Crowdstrike is facing an onslaught of legal action from faulty software update. Yeah, when you push a software update instantly on the whole world that ends up shutting the whole world down, you better believe some people are going to come and sue you. And that's precisely the situation that Crowdstrike is finding itself in. The company, Delta, is threatening to sue the company for as much as $500 million in damages, hiring lawyer David Boyce as a high-profile example. I was looking at, among Boyce's things, I'm looking at all of these things. Did he win any of these cases that he listed as high-profile? I mean, didn't follow the legal cases, but Theranos, that CEO's in jail. Harvey Weinstein, isn't he in jail? The victims of Jeffrey Epstein, where's that list? I'd kind of like to see it. Al Gore in Bush versus Gore around the results of the 2000 election. I'm not sure which way that one went. I just don't remember. And then he led the government antitrust case against Microsoft in the 90s. Okay, we have a victory. Did he lose the rest of those cases, or am I thinking of things incorrectly? I didn't follow any of those cases super closely. But just on the cultural awareness, did any of those succeed? I don't know. So, of course, even before Delta came forward, shareholders were looking for their pound of flesh, filing a class action lawsuit against CrowdStrike, alleging the company had misled them regarding the software update procedures. Now, CrowdStrike, I said Cloudflare, that's CrowdStrike, my apologies. CrowdStrike has hired a legal firm against these. One of the arguments they're making is that their contract specifies a maximum amount of damages. However, any contract like that can be overridden by gross negligence. That's exactly why Disney was not going to win its lawsuit. If Disney held true and be like, you signed a non-disclosure, they were going to lose, because gross mismanagement, gross negligence will override any form of contract. And when people start dying, gross mismanagement immediately applies. Now, this case, I don't know if anybody specifically died from what they did, but obviously losing millions of dollars and grounding the flights for a long time obviously is a huge problem. And this was a huge problem mostly because they did not properly test the update and they didn't roll it out slowly. If they rolled it out to a batch of, let's roll this out to 10 companies and only 10 companies were impacted and they roll that back really quick, that's a whole lot better than rolling it out all at once for the whole world and allowing the whole world to suffer the consequences, which is exactly what had happened. Of course, the other argument they're making specifically regarding the Delta case is to say, hey, your competitors were back up in 3 days. It took you 5 days because you had internal problems. That's the other angle they're going to try and fight, but whether or not that's successful, I don't know about that one. That's probably going to have information coming out in discovery. So ultimately, though, it's not just Delta. There are a number of companies that are probably putting together a massive class action lawsuit that, honestly, if CrowdStrike survives this onslaught, it might actually be somewhat miraculous. So obviously that was going to happen. The other thing that happened oddly this week was the publishers ultimately prevail in the lawsuit over the Internet Archive's emergency ebook lending. Now, they had lost their case, but they had reached a settlement with the publishers that would prevent them from going completely out of business. But then they appealed the case. Now, I don't know if because of the appeal, the publishers are going to uphold that original agreement, which was never made public. So it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen from here. We'll have to see what the next steps are. Ultimately, what happened, if you aren't familiar with this, is they created their National Emergency Library, effectively saying that all of these libraries reached out to us and gave us permission to use their copies of the books that nobody was allowed to check out because the libraries were all closed during the national stupidity scare. And so in light of all of that, they started issuing out ebooks, basically ebooks. The problem is this wasn't their standard ebooks, public domain, which of course they could freely hand out anywhere. These were books currently in print that if people wanted to read them, they could just as easily go to any form of online store, order a print copy to their house, or order an ebook, pay money to the author, and get it. Now, the argument was you could get it from the local library, but the local library is closed, and so you can lend it to us. And where they used to have the ability to say, we have one of these on stock, we're going to lend the one on stock, they lifted that account, and it basically turned into they didn't actually have the number of copies of books that they lent, and this caused publishers to say, yeah, you caused the damage because you allowed pretty much everybody to gain access to all of our books that are still copyrighted in print and easy to buy online. And obviously online sales were not affected. And so I honestly, as much as I like the Internet Archive, even though I know they are somewhat compromised, I like the Internet Archive. They do a really good service for humanity. they were in the wrong here. They really were in the wrong. Because especially against publishers, publishers are inherently like lizard people. So you don't really want to mess with them. And they are powerful. Publishers are powerful, and they leverage copyright well because they do have a lot of irons in their fire that they have to protect. Okay. And being an author myself, I can completely understand. Now, for me personally, if during this time, if they happen to have my books in there and they lent them out, I don't care. My publishing company that publishes the books would not take any impact against them. I'd be like, hey, great, I'll have fun. Of course, if you're trying to give my books away for free, I'm not going to let you do that. Sorry. We will take action against that, because that is one of the ways I pay my bills, is to sell my books. But I mean, if they were lent out in this very narrow case of the National Emergency Library, I wouldn't care as much, but the publishers were, because basically that meant that the publishers didn't make the money. The authors didn't make the money. It dinged the sales, and the dinging of the sales could reduce the author's credibility in the publishing and marketing. It could make them harder to actually sell books in the future. There's a lot of reasons for this. So hopefully the Internet Archive survives. I am generally in agreement with it, but I do think that this was a really stupid thing for the Internet Archive to do. It's a hard one. This is a hard case. I can see both sides of it, basically. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. And finally, the consumers are taking on the smart tech. So a whole bunch of people, consumer groups and whatnot. I was actually surprised Louis Rossmann wasn't on this. This is exactly the type of thing he would be all over. They're urging the FTC to require smart devices to have a lot of concessions. We're going to get to the concessions in a bit. Even the article here did not do a good job of highlighting everything, but I have a copy of the letter open. We'll look briefly at that. So ultimately, this deals with the fact of all of these smart devices, and we've talked about several of these between on our business section or the SillyVille section. We had the cooker that worked perfectly fine. Now you have to pay like $10 a month to keep using it. We had the snoo. We talked about that in a recent video, where it's like almost a $2,000 baby crib that all of a sudden now you have to pay $20 a month to actually use the features, which just happened automatically. You had Peloton just decided they're going to charge $95 for used equipment fee if you happen to buy a Peloton at a yard sale. We had the discussion about the Spotify car thing, where after you bought it for $100, and after less than a year, they're just like, we're just not going to support them anymore. And so now they will just completely become e-waste. We're going to be dumping all of the equipment for that into the trash can. They finally have relented and are going to be issuing refunds for people who still have their receipts. We talked about last week the Amazon device, which people paid extra money for the device. They paid a $2 a month subscription service to show pictures on their device instead of ads. And now Amazon says, no, it's just going to show ads instead. So citing all of these cases, these companies come back and say, hey, you need to put requirements on how long it's going to be supported. And if they decide to stop supporting it, require them to actually open it up and allow anybody to get in there and do what with their device what they want. So that's actually a really neat thing. So here's actually the letter. And it's going out it's starting from the Bureau of Consumer Protection, and it's going on out to Federal Trade Commission. And what they're citing here, and they're getting into the points, is that a variety of massive consumer abuses. So here, I'm going to scan through this. Here's where they're talking about the snoo, $1,600 device. All of a sudden now people are being charged a $20 a month subscription for it. And then we had the Spotify, had the car thing as mentioned. We had, I didn't see this one, but another example comes 2023 when temperature regulating device called ACOMOD, which worked in conjunction with the Commando Joe Smoker, was discontinued. The device cost $250, was sold through 2023, abruptly shut off July 4th holiday after the company that made the device was acquired by Middle Bay and then launched a competing product that used a different app. Other products, there's a juicer involved here. Let's see. Then they're talking here about the e-waste happens and all this. Let's just scroll down. They made a really good argument. So here is what they want the FTC to consider doing. Number one, require a disclosure of a guaranteed minimum support time on all product packaging. So if you're going to release a device, you have to tell people exactly how long it's going to be supported. You only want to support it for 1 year? Fine. You got to tell people that. And if it's only 1 year and the price is too high, they'll just opt not to buy it. Well, if they haven't descended into total idiocracy anyway. But if you're saying 5 years, you better support it for 5 years. Number two, require companies to ensure that the core functionality of the product will work even if the internet connection fails or the software stops getting updated. So no more locking the system down. Oh, it just won't work anymore because we shut down the servers. So an e-bike should start without a connection to the server for control. An oven should maintain its ability to heat food. A thermostat should still retain the ability to control an HVAC system. Basic things, obviously. Like, these are basic things. Like, hey, want to bring sanity back and tell businesses to stop abusing people? This is kind of your job. If not, then maybe we should just dissolve you because you're not doing anything. Who knows? Encourage tools and methods that can enable reuse if software support ends. So this is the thing that Rossman would be all over. Okay, we're going to stop selling the device now. We're going to stop supporting the device now. Great. You have to provide me everything I need to unlock the device. A software patch, a cable, something that allows me to unlock the device and reuse this in any way I see fit. And then, hey, we might see a renaissance of some of these old devices coming back as hackers figure out really cool things to do with these things that are out of support. Protect adversarial interoperability. This is effectively the same thing as above in a third way. So this mostly deals with the software, though, as they're subject to the copyright laws, or at least so they argue. So they can be repurposed when a competitor or third party creates a reuse or modification tool. So this is the argument with, I think it was a garage door opener recently. I don't remember if we talked about it or not, but it's a smart garage door opener that for years supported the Home Assist system, which is all open source. You can run it on your Raspberry Pi. Well, they pushed an update which blocked that. So now you had to use their app. You had to use their subscription fee. You had to use their things. This is fighting against that. So basically say you cannot block people from using this device how they want it. And then conduct an educational program to encourage manufacturers to build longevity into the design of their products. There's no education needed. They do this because it makes them more money. So very good arguments there from the group against what the to ask the FTC to do some serious things. So really good letter. I support that, and hopefully something good comes from that. Well, if you want to help support the channel and pick up one of these cool Switch to Linux hats, you can go ahead and do that over on our shop. We have t-shirts, we have hats, we have coffee cups, we have mouse pads, backpacks, all sorts of other fun stuff over on shop.switchedtolinux.com. You can grab this hat over there. This is the trucker hat. You can pick that up, and then there's a couple different styles of hats, t-shirts, hoodies, all sorts of fun stuff. That reminds me. I need to order me a new hoodie. I keep forgetting. Before I head on off to my travels, because my hoodie has survived 3 full years of van life. It's wearing out. After 3 full years of van life, my hoodie is finally wearing out. All right, got used on a daily basis too. So shop.switchedtolinux.com. And with that, let's head on over to your favorite place and mine. Let's go to SillyVille. Very sad to announce that after just 2 weeks after it launched, Concord is going to be shut down. Yes, we talked about it last week. That amazing game that actually peaked out. It totally peaked out at 600 and something users, active users simultaneously. And they've basically just lost millions and millions of dollars. Probably going to just lay off the whole team, fire them all, get them out of there and be like, get out of here, get out of here. Your game sucked. Of course, this was the diversity hire game. You know, everyone had their pronouns in their bios, and the graphics looks like something that was out of a game from like decades ago. Nobody really had anything real positive to say about it. But the good news is if you bought this nonsense, you will be getting a full refund for it. So you can go ahead and if you bought it directly there from PlayStation accounts, it would be issued right on back to the payment method. So there you go. You're not losing anything. They are losing a boatload of money on that. And hey, go woke, go broke. Hopefully it's a lesson to you. Speaking of go woke, go broke, here's a movie that will not be on my list of movies to watch this summer. This is the new Minecraft movie. Warner Brothers released a trailer for it. I kid you not, a Minecraft movie, and this picture sums it up. So they're describing it as Jumanji reboot and the later seasons of Stranger Things inside a modern corporate HR manual had a baby. There's supposed to be a picture on this, I think, that didn't seem to load. Because there is definitely a bad picture associated with this thing. I don't know. Maybe it's not loading due to my thing. I don't know if I want to play the audio on the trailer. That might ding us for copyright here, but let's have a brief look at some of the trailer here. So you can kind of see the characters there. It is a diversity hire gang, as you can see. And it is kind of crazy. And yeah, of course, Jack Black is in it. Okay. This is the one part I will play the audio on that because this is just terrifyingly horrible. Are you guys ready? Yeah. He go, kapow! You know, yeah. Okay. Let me mute the audio again. And then, of course, they come up with Panda Bear Jack Black himself shows up. And, yeah. It looks horrendous. It honestly looks horrendous. So here's the Kadoosh, the gender fluid. Jason Momoa even yells Kadoosh right before Jack Black appeared in Kung Fu Panda style. There you go. So I don't know. What do you expect from something authorized by Microsoft? But I don't know. Well, on to more brain-rotting degeneracy. The new TikTok trend went wild last week. And TikTokers go wild over Chase Bank glitch, but they're going to be in for a rude awakening. So they decided that they could attempt to deposit a fake check, which usually in and of itself is problematic, especially if you know it's fake. But there was a glitch in the Chase Bank system that allowed you to immediately withdraw the money. Somebody probably spotted it when they had very low amount of money and they deposited a check and the money was completely available, and so they withdrew it, which in and of itself is not a problem. It's a legitimate check. It's in your account. Now, technically in an ATM, you can't withdraw the money immediately. So people saw this and go, I bet if I throw a check in there for $1 million, I could withdraw $1 million. And so people threw large amounts of fake checks in there, and lo and behold, were immediately able to withdraw the funds. And so they went on this amazing TikTok spree about all the money and throwing cash in the air and hanging out with a bank card in his mouth on top of the car and all this kind of stuff. Of course, there is a name for this kind of stuff. It is called bank fraud. And they will reach in there and they will just take the money right back out quite immediately, in fact. And so now some people are looking at this going, and there's some speculation, are these legitimate accounts or not? And but now people are looking at their account balance and like, oh, I'm minus $31,000. Well, because you deposited a fake $31,000 check that obviously didn't clear, and then you withdrew $31,000 thanks to a banking glitch, and they just decided to take their money back. So, what do I even do now, bro? Hire a lawyer. Return everything on your shopping spree. I guess this is dozens of people lining up outside Chase Bank branches, allegedly hoping to exploit the so-called money glitch. These guys were... Oh, there it is. Yeah, there's different people there. And so, yeah, watching the Chase glitch backfire on people dumb enough to believe it. There you go. People putting themselves in generational debt by using a Chase glitch so they can buy a nice car that they'll own for 2 days before their assets are seized by the bank. What is the Chase Infinite Money Glitch fraud? It's cloud fraud. Yeah, there you go. So there you have it, guys. People are still stupid. And I am very sad to announce, folks, this is a somber moment for us. Vladimir, the Russian spy whale, has been found dead of mysterious causes. Now, the mysterious causes appear to be bullets, but if you're unaware of this guy, some fishermen found this whale, and when they pulled up this whale, lo and behold, there was a spy camera attached to it, and they looked at it, and it's St. Petersburg. And so, equipment St. Petersburg is what it was. So, of course, that's, big Russian city. So, apparently, the Russians have this whale with a spy camera attached on it, doing who knows what in the water. The whale does not associate well with kinds of its own kind, but it's very well trained. It can fetch things and stuff like that. So they call him Vladimir, for Vladimir Putin, of course. So here's the little whale with a spy camera on. Isn't he cute?
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Yep, there you go. Get the fish. There you go. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's a tasty fish. Oh, maybe he doesn't want the fish right now. But, there he is. So, here's a few other videos of him. So cute. Just kind of hanging out, following the boats along, see what these boats are up to. I think they're throwing stuff out to him, and he's retrieving electronics that were dropped in the water. And here he is over here. Very friendly.
Oh my God.
And unfortunately, they found him dead of some bullet wounds. So maybe he was carrying the Epstein client list back to shore. I don't know. Vladimir didn't really know how to interact with other whales, preferring human companionship, so efforts were underway to relocate him to a wild beluga population in the Arctic in hopes of increasing his chances of survival. But hopes for him were dashed on Saturday when he was found dead, what one whale called the heavily trafficked waters outside of Stavanger, Norway. Two animal rights groups say he was shot to death, and photos show it looks like punctured bullet wounds. The Norwegian government is not confirming their claims, but they are performing an autopsy to determine the official cause of death of the Russian spy whale. Given the whale's background in international espionage, the online rumors are swirling, of course. He had the Epstein client list, clearly. Jeez. Pretty soon we'll see Clinton out there on a boat. So right now, only one mammal really knows what happened, and he's taking that secret along with him to the grave. Rip Vladimir, and say hi to Harambe and the Doge when you see them. So here you have it, guys. Putin's Russian spy whale has been taken to the grave. Poor Russian spy whale should have never gotten involved in that Epstein client list. All right. Well, if you want to help support this channel, because, after the content like this, I'll never get a real job. Patreon.com/TOMM. You can jump on over there. We'll have our short story series coming back online this month for that. Of course, you can also jump in on our after Thursday calls as well if you want to do that or participate in the Thursday show. Patreon.com/TOMM. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.